we have a video by Legal Mindset, and it's about the Tate brothers. Now, with them, I've gone back and forth with them a bit. I remember at the very beginning of when they came on the scene, there was a lot of just straight spitting facts that were going on with the Tate brothers. I was not a fan of their business model. I wasn't a fan of hearing some of the things that I've heard. Some of the other reports. I'm very interested to see how this whole court trial thing goes to in regards to the UK. So I'm just gonna see what the legal analysis is here, and we will start right now. Let's see what Andrew, Legal Mindset Esquire, is going to be informing us on today.
The Tate brothers will lose their bail battle. We're calling it today on the Legal Mindset, where we teach you to be your own judge. Today, we are going to break down everything in this bail battle. I'm Andrew Esquire, and of course, I've been following this for a while. I'm very familiar with Andrew and Tristan Tate, and while I covered this in a previous video, for those that need a quick summary, they're both influencers, quote-unquote manosphere guys, and they were arrested by the U.S. Marshal Service in Miami on July 18th, 2026, following a request from British authorities. They face potential extradition to the UK on 59 total criminal charges.
Now, that is a lot. And the thing is, like, even outside of how you view the Tate brothers, at all, it's a very interesting situation for our government, because I did see a little bit on that. Because on one hand, they are American and British citizens. So I'm just looking logistically here. They are American and British citizens. They're accused of crimes in the UK. So even if, let's just say, because they were, crying for Marco Rubio and Trump to, not let this extradition happen and yada, yada, yada. But at the same time, like, even if they did want to go, fuck you, Britain, these are, right now, they're American citizens, they still want to maintain good relations with Britain. And I remember looking this up about a week or two ago, and I think there's only been a handful of times where America told Britain no. Like seriously, it's like less than 10. So there's not a lot of precedent with our countries going, no, we're not sending someone over to you. So we shall see what happens. It's going to be an interesting year for the Tate brothers.
So there are a lot of charges levied against Andrew and Tristan Tate. And on my previous video, I covered the basics of extradition. So if you guys haven't had a chance to check that out, head back over, check out my last video on the Tates, and you'll get up to speed on the basics of extradition. But what they're fighting right now is the battle for them to be outside of jail, to be set free. In fact, there was a protest, which you had many figures, other figures like Myron Gaines of Fresh and Fit, Justin Waller, people that have been affiliated with the Tates or that are friends of the Tates, leading a small protest. They were doing push-ups for Andrew Tate, trying to get him out of jail and trying to get him out on bail. But the problem is most people, including likely those that are supporting him, do not understand why this is a losing battle with bail and a losing battle to get Andrew Tate outside of jail pending extradition. And
this isn't Romania anymore. Like, we're not dealing with that anymore. That is off the table now. Now the big boys have entered the arena. Now it's the United States and the Brits talking to each other about this. It's Romania, whatever went down there, unsure, corruption, or if it was legit, I don't know. All I know is it's off the table. Let's focus on the legal stuff here and now.
Can explain that today. So first of all, unlike in regular criminal proceedings, there's a strong presumption against bail for extradition. So unlike normal criminal charges, if you're arrested in Florida, New York, etc., different legal standards apply. In fact, another fun fact is that some things that are hearsay evidence are indeed admissible in extradition cases. They can look past that and consider hearsay. These are kind of fun facts about extradition that is much different than a normal court process.
So if I'm hearing that correctly, what he's saying is, hey, all those rules that kind of protect American citizens like 80 to 90% of the time? Well, a lot of that goes out the window when you're dealing with another country. That's what I heard. If I'm retarded, let me know. Okay. Oh, hey, Light Ferret, how you doing today? Over there on Kick. Appreciate you.
Because it functions under treaty law by act of treaty between the US and the UK.
Yep.
So it's a different set of rules and a different playbook than your normal criminal handbook. So you can't analyze it the same way. So the Tates actually have to prove to get out on bail. They have to prove, number one, and this is the huge one for them, that they are neither a flight risk nor a danger to the community.
Well, in that regard, like just going off of what I see here, if we remember the Tate brothers, they were on house arrest for a long time in Romania, like 2 years. And anytime that they did leave the country or something, rather, they got permission and they came back. So as far as I remember that, they do have at least a history of following the rules that's been given to them. All right, but let's continue.
So let's pretend that they can say that they're not a danger to the community, which of course the UK government is going to argue. They're going to say they're a danger, that they might go into their network, it might threaten people or might exploit people, etc. But let's say, put that aside. They've got to prove they're not a flight risk, meaning there's no risk of them trying to run away. That's huge. Second of all, you need a special circumstance to justify release. So absence of flight risk alone, just saying you're not a flight risk, is not enough under existing case law for getting out on bail for extradition. So let's look at flight risk. These are all the factors that they look through in order to assess whether somebody is a
incentive to flee, financial means and resources, ties to foreign countries, ties to the United States, age and personal characteristics, history of evasion or non-appearance. So there's always incentive to flee, like so that means crime severity. Okay, I don't know about that. Financial means and resources, they do have that. Ties to foreign countries, absolutely. Do they have ties to the U.S.? Absolutely. Age and personal characteristics, I don't know what that means. Okay, they don't have a history of evasion or non-appearance. I mean, I guess that would depend on whether you count the Turkey and Britain situation as a non-appearance thing. I don't know.
Flight risk, and there's quite a few. First of all, the incentive to flee. How big are the crimes? In this one, the crimes are pretty severe. Financial means and resources. Do they have money? Do they have bling? Do they have the ability to go to crypto? Do they have the ability to get themselves out of the U.S., right? That's big. Ties to foreign countries. Do they have foreign passports, property? Do they have places to go? Do they have networks abroad? Ties to the United States. How strong are their U.S. ties? Are they so strong that it seems like there's no reason for them to flee the U.S., or are they relatively weak ties to the U.S.? Their age, their personal characteristics, the history of evasion or non-appearance.
I don't know what age and personal characteristics mean. Like, could they blend? Does it mean like they could blend into a crowd or something? Like, I honestly don't know what that means. I wish you would have gave a little snippet of what that actually means.
And their ability to flee practically. And some of these are overlapping. You can see how, for example, the ability to flee practically, well, that ties in with financial means, right? If you've got no cash, then you really can't go anywhere. So let's look at the pro-Tate side, because I always try to balance these things fairly. And as you guys know, I try to make the best arguments, even if those arguments are going to be losing arguments. So Tate's lawyer has already made some of these arguments. But one thing that is true, and I can stand and behind this fact, is it's not illegal or impermissible to carry multiple passports or IDs. And I'm someone who lives abroad. I know many people, expatriates, immigrants, workers that.
Yeah, I think he's in. If I remember correctly, I think he's either in Thailand or Japan right now. I think Thailand.
Carry multiple IDs. Maybe they have a driver's license from one country, but they live in another. Maybe they've got a residence card. That's not necessarily illegal in and of itself. So that by itself is not a crime. You can't say that the Tates are criminals simply because they have multiple passports or IDs. However, compliance in the Romanian case, I think that is a thing that the Tates can say, hey, look, we're actually being compliant in the Romanian case. Look at us over here. We've been very good boys. If we need to go back, we'll go back. We're following orders there. So they're able to show some level of compliance with the law in general. And the last thing, saying they do have dual citizenship. And a lot of people forget about that. They have U.S. and UK citizenship. So in terms of ties to the U.S., they've got the ultimate tie, which is their citizenship, saying, hey, we have rights as an American, and those rights can perhaps be above and beyond those that will be given by the British over there on their island. So they've got some arguments here, but there's a lot of anti-Tate arguments. So let's go to that.
All right, let's see here.
One of the biggest things is the Tate's own statements.
Why do I never get extradited? Here I am. I'm in Hong Kong. I'm going nowhere. Come get me. We all know your judicial system's corrupt. Everybody knows I affect elections. I'm in Hong Kong, and you know I'm here. So come get me. You're such a strong case. Extradite me. You know I'm here.
Look, I understand fighting the man. Completely understand fighting the man. But don't be surprised if you're looking at the button and you start pressing the button and then you look at the people in control of the button and challenge them for them to do something about it. At some point, it's on you. Andrew Tate, the Tate brothers at any time could have just kept it safe. They could have stayed in Romania, lived the rest of their lives doing whatever they do. Consequence free. But they decided to test that. So, and guess what? They fought the law and the law won.
I told you I was here, and I'm still here.
Right? He's got this attitude of coming at him. And this is something that the British Embassy actually put in their filing document. You can see here the statements that they really keyed in on. I'll just run around the world. I'll be above the jurisdiction of any one place. Now, let me say, as an expat, that is a pipe dream. You are never, if you're running around the world, above the jurisdiction of one place. You will always physically be in a place and they can physically throw you in jail, right? That's always possible no matter where you go. So you're never going to be completely above the law.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, there's extradition treaties all over the fucking place. I don't know why anybody would test that. I mean, he has a history of kind of testing that in the sense of Romania, which was still a dumb idea. But, you know, somehow we got through it. And that's what happens. You get a confidence bias. Like if you're calling out people, you're getting away with it, you get a confidence bias. Like, okay, the Matrix has nothing on me, so and if he feels like he's beaten the Matrix so many times, you're just gonna have that confidence bias. Like, no one's actually gonna touch me, no one's actually gonna do anything about it. Well, finally did something about it, and he knew the Florida governor didn't like him. He knew the Florida AG didn't like him. So why would he push that button? I don't know. Look, it doesn't necessarily matter at this point in time whether he's guilty or innocent. All he had to do was not press the button.
Even people that leave the U.S. and renounce their citizenship give it up for a passport or a citizenship in another country. So they're just trading their sovereign. They also say here, we're just going to stay in Dubai in the U.S. and stop traveling and get some effing extradition lawyers. Well, you know, how is that working out for them right now? They were in the U.S. when they're caught. They have a lawyer, but that doesn't remove them from the law. And the U.S. and U.K. clearly have an extradition treaty, so that's not going to get them out. He also mentions Hong Kong and saying, now I'm in Hong Kong. It's all over the media while he was there. They're saying, extradite me. Why do I never get extradited? I'm going nowhere. Come get me. Well, that's probably because Hong Kong and the U.K. actually are up in the air about their extradition relationship.
China being cooperative with another government? Yeah. Good luck with that. I know Hong Kong is a little bit of a different situation. They have their own set of rules outside of the actual Chinese country, so Chinese government, but that's near nor there.
The treaty that they formally had expired over some disagreements over what China is doing and some Chinese policies. So right now it's murky, but they do still extradite people on a case-by-case basis just because there's no treaty. And in fact, there are examples of countries with no extradition treaty that have indeed extradited people because it benefited them politically. Also, calling the Britain clowns and they're internationally mocked, well, that can be very much true, but that doesn't change the law. That doesn't allow you to get out on bail just because you think the British government is a joke, which may or may not be true.
Well, the Tates are right about one thing. The British government right now is absolutely a joke. They are arresting people walking out of stores with that are holding a baseball bat that is still in its packaging while the receipt is still warm. It is kind of a clown show, but that doesn't mean that the Tates didn't break the law. That doesn't mean that there isn't evidence of anything. It doesn't mean a lot of things, or it can mean a lot of things. There's a lot of things that are up in the air, But the thing is, if they are guilty of this, then they're going to be going to court, and then they need to prove that they did not do what they're being accused of. Now, or hold on, let me refresh my brain. I will say that because of what I've seen and heard, following some legal YouTubers that are barristers in the UK government, there is a little chip on my shoulder here being like, should they, trust the UK court system right now? I mean, I don't know. At the very end of the day, I hope that justice is served. And if they're innocent, they get let off. If they're guilty, then they go to jail. That's where I'm at. I'm fence-sitting a little bit here.
The other thing we got to talk about is Vladimir Scorpius. Now, this is actually something that was put by the British.
Vladimir Wait, is that a fake passport? What?
Embassy in their documents. It's a Mexican ID here. And some people are saying it's paper, it's cardboard, it's a fake, it's false. Now, it may have been a joke or a meme to some people, but I can say there are a lot of folks that look at getting driver's license or PR in Mexico as a step to getting other IDs under other names and other identities. And as someone who knows expats, knows people living abroad, I've heard through the grapevine of people using this as a way to get other IDs, to get other passports.
Yeah, actually, I remember. So a few years ago, when I was like looking in Thailand, like I didn't know anything about Thailand, and then you see like all the passport bros talking about Thailand and everything like that. I saw this story, and I forget if it was a YouTube video or if it was on Reddit or something, or some sort of blog site. But apparently, like a guy just went over there, and he got an ID, and when you get an ID, you can choose your Thai name. Yeah, your Thailand name? Thailandese? I don't know. Their Thai name. And they're like, well, if this is going to be your license, you want it on your Thailand passport. And he was like, yeah? So he had a license and he had a passport and a completely different name. So he was just like, I guess I'm just going to disappear into Thailand, and shredded his government-issued ID for the U.S. and just living it up in Thailand, I guess. Oh, and John is from Thailand, and he's like, yes, can confirm that happens.
To try to be above the law. So as much as this might look like a joke, trying to be a Bond villain, like he wants to be some super arms dealer, bad boy, as much as it looks like a joke, this could be very much serious in terms of finding pipelines to evade the law and to evade detection. And even in their own documents, the British government admits they aren't able to properly track Andrew and Tristan Tate, which to me is embarrassing for British intelligence, saying they have no ability to find their own citizens or to know.
That is pretty embarrassing. Because I don't know if you've seen the government of the United States and the intelligence that we have. Like, we mess up, but damn, some of the shit that they can do is scary. They know where you're at. Even when you're committing crimes, a lot of them know where you're at. They're just waiting.
Where public influencers are going. It's actually kind of embarrassing. So once again, Tate's own statements imply criminal.
Yeah, like the guy who posts everything online, does live streams saying exactly where he is, and British intelligence is saying, we have no idea who he is. We have a hard time finding him. Really? That is embarrassing.
Evasion and the ability to flee the country, which is quintessential flight risk. The ability to go.
Okay, John giving us some Thai tips over here. There's a British crypto billionaire that has Thai citizenship and name that is a white Brit. Has a Thai citizenship name. Okay. I see what you mean.
go abroad. He clearly has the financial means or access to the financial means to flee if desired. Even if Tate, for example, isn't able to use one of his bank accounts because it's frozen, he might play with crypto. He might have other people he's connected to, maybe some of his war room buddies. They spot him for that. He's got the ability to flee, and that's very, very clear. And based on the severity of those charges and really him avoiding the UK, you can see that Tate is highly incentivized to try to flee to a non-extradition country. And he's aware of this distinction. And I think if he was to leave the US, he would head to a country where extradition would be the most difficult. Not impossible, like I said. It's always possible for them to cut a deal. Even if he goes to Dubai, it's very possible for the UAE and the UK to cut a deal on Tate. That doesn't make him bulletproof.
Yeah. The thing is, like, a lot, like he was saying before, like there was some issues that they were having, British was having with the Chinese government. Maybe it was an economic issue. Maybe it was a human rights issue. But the thing is, if you find some alignment being like, hey, UAE, we know that you've been having a problem with this. We haven't disagreed on a lot. How about for 3 months we say it's okay and you give us that guy? Governments can make behind closed doors deals all the time just based on your life. At any moment. Why not?
So overall, here's my judgment. The Tate's brothers are almost certainly not going to be granted bail, even if their lawyer, who, by the way, is a very good and competent lawyer. You can say what you would say about his arguments. He is a zealous advocate for his client. He makes very passionate arguments. He does make some valid points especially about due process and about treatment in prison, which I think are true. I think the Tate should be given good due process, and I think they should also not be treated in a subhuman way. They should be treated like everybody else in jail. But
if I remember correctly, right when they were first arrested a few weeks ago, it was immediately to solitary confinement, which is usually a big no-no. Like, you actually have to do something in the prison in order for that to happen. So, but apparently that was their first stop. They get arrested, they get processed, and they went to solitary confinement, which is a big no-no here in the United States a majority of the time.
They don't have a special circumstance to justify release. He doesn't have some special medical condition. He doesn't have some family situation. There's not something out there that would justify his release, even if they could prove the miracle that he isn't a flight risk, although he pretty much meets all the strongest characteristics of a flight risk. I think that Tate's defense...
Well, why not? Why not just say, well, here's all our passports? I mean, I guess there's a reasonable consideration that they could have other hidden passports. So, okay, there might be a point there.
And the people who want to defend Tate should focus their efforts on actually the substantive charges, the UK charges, and attacking those charges and looking at the substance of those charges. A lot of people will say, hey, these are things that have already been disproven. These are false. These are rumors. We'll go into the actual substance and look at that, because I think the defense is going to spend a lot more of its efforts wisely looking at that. But so far, everything in this case that I have looked at, reviewing what's coming out, it doesn't look good for the Tates. The evidence so far that we've seen, at least what's out there, doesn't look good for the Tates, with the presumption that the UK is going to be able to provide some backup for that. So it's not looking good for the Tates. Definitely don't think they're getting that bail. But I want to know what you guys think in the comments below. How do you feel about the Tate case? Let me know in the comments below, and I will catch you on the next one.
Well, what I'd say about that is, if the Tates... Dave Wins is like, free Top G. Well, as far as that I can see, and I think this is one of the reasons why the Tate's lawyers I've been really trying to, are very outspoken to getting Trump's attention, to get Marco Rubio's attention on this, because at this point, I think that they would need an actual intervention in order to stop this process. Because as of right now, the process is kind of going where it seems like it needs to go. The only issue that I have, and he didn't get into a lot of this, but it kind of behooves me, at least on the American side of things, where the American side would be like, okay, well, before we do anything, could we at least see some of the evidence you have, so we just don't, willy-nilly send an American citizen over to get persecuted? Like, is there a legal basis for this to happen? Like, I would like a little bit of buffer in there, just so that everything is a little clear of like, okay, there is circumstantial evidence that this could be true, yada, 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 yada. Okay, ship him to Brit. I'd like to see a little bit more of that. But as it stands right now, I don't see Trump intervening. I don't see Marco Rubio intervening. I mean, hey, good on their lawyer for advocating for him. You know, there are lawyers that I absolutely despise if you know anything about my lore. But what I can't say is that even if there's a lawyer that I don't like, if it is their job to represent their client to the best of their ability, and even though it can be a little underhanded.
Hey, thank you for watching this clip from my live stream. Please comment below, like, and subscribe. And be sure to subscribe to my main channel, where I do all these live streams and have my independent videos where I do deep dives. Thank you so much for watching. And remember, you are somebody, I am nobody, and I hope you have a fantastic day.